Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic known classics. This is episode number 29. Let's see it. It is 2985, Doubleshot number 2879. Now, I got two miniseries discussed, written by Roy and Dan Thomas. The first one discussed basically 8 years ago as an audio-only review, which got me over 400 views this one. So, first discussing The Crimson Avenger. Yep. Which, you look at him, oh, he looks like DC's take on the Shadow. Which, kind of that's what he is here. Mostly put, this is a story for the Crimson Avenger solving a case in the 1940s. Now, of course, Roy Thomas loved this whole Mystery Man stuff. Now, of course, you have Greg Brooks on the artwork here. And the story is called The Dark Cross Conspiracy. Yes, and the biggest thing involved in this miniseries is they have the Crimson Avenger fighting the KKK. I'm like, that sounds awesome. And it is. Yeah, and that's kind of what the series is. It's a great series. And it's a shame that in the 38 years since this miniseries was released, by the way, it's only 4 issues. In the 38 years since it was released, this has never been collected in trade. As far as I can tell, it hasn't. And here's something interesting, though. About this. Now, not the first time he actually had like a story for himself per se. This is actually the first time since the 40s that he basically has a story. And here's a fun fact about this. Did you know when Crimson Avenger first showed up? It was in the Detective Comics. You think, oh, that's the comic that Batman has debuted. Which issue? Issue 1. The cover features a racist version of a Chinese man. Yep, and the book was also debuted for Slim Brady. Yeah, so also the fact that basically Batman replaced him in the book. Yeah, like not long after Batman's first show up, Crimson Avenger left the book. Crimson Avenger was also noteworthy for being a founding member of the 7 Soldiers of Victory, who had a feature and leading comics for the first 14 issues. But this is an absolutely fun miniseries, and I think we could check it out. It's only 4 issues. But I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Next up we have is Joini Thunder, aka Thunderbolt. This one, of course, is written still by Roy and Dan Thomas, artwork by Dick Giordano, where it features Joini Thunder. Yes. Now, this was released a year prior to Crimson Avenger. This particular miniseries, first issue debut, of course, Joini Thunder and her Thunderbolt. Now, my guess is probably the reason why for this miniseries' existence is because of Marvel's Dakota North, who made her debut just prior to this, year prior. And my guess is DC was like, I like the idea of having a female detective have her own miniseries. But unlike in the case of Dakota North, where after her miniseries wrapped up, she wasn't seeing it until the 2000s, while Joini Thunder, right after this miniseries, became a recurring character in the pages of Incorporated. Which, of course, they said retire her Thunderbolt. And she's basically like a regular PI, has her own office, she wears a suit and tie. Which, it's like basically something like, oh, what was this book supposed to be for a guy? Nope, it was probably just meant for a woman. So, by the way, here's something interesting, though. The first issue here was co-plotted by Jerry Conway. So, the book starts out with basically Joini arriving in her office to find a guy dead in her office. And, of course, basically, she is a private investigator. Yeah, her father used to be a police inspector, and basically, she even has like her own car. Yes. Yeah, and it's a convertible. And it's like basically she's kind of like a rich PI with this really cool looking car here. Yeah, she's like a rich PI. And then all of a sudden, oh crap, there's a robot in her office. She fights with the robot. Now, in case you're curious though, are the guys in the book written to be sexist toward her? Not really, no. You've got people work with her. And I appreciate the fact Roy Thomas does not go the route of, oh, a woman woman basically does stuff like this and she gets sexist remarks. Oh yeah, and there's a statue that she finds would turn out to be her Thunderbolt. Yep. Yeah, this is where the Thunderbolt comes in, basically toward the end of the first issue. Mm-hmm. And of course, fights a woman named Red Nails. Basically, the best way to also describe the tone of this miniseries, it's like an 80s crime noir done with superheroes. That's kind of the basis of this miniseries, which I thought would be so interesting about this thing. Yeah. And here's a quote at the start of the second issue. The cops. No way yet has been has yet been to say goodbye to him. Raymond Chandler, the long goodbye. Which I'm sure is probably basically a reference to a crime noir story. So, Joini basically has a Thunderbolt basically fight some people, and of course she beats some guy who basically comes to her home. Yeah, and this guy here doesn't mind the fact she is PI, and of course we have two people just show up at her office. Yeah, and apparently inside of her bag is a cat. Yes, a cat. And all of a sudden the phone rings, and of course the guys do eventually leave. It's like also some people don't like the fact she is PI because she's a woman, and of course we find the secret of the Thunderbolt with the very next issue of this miniseries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, is she the main villain of the miniseries? My guess is the whole thing of like making Joini Thunder, well, the whole thing of her being one, it's just to be different. Nowadays, it's like, oh, let's just give a character a sex change, or basically change skin color just to go with trends. Yeah, nowadays they go with trends. This basically just trying to be different, which I like that. Yep. And of course, we wrap up basically with the last issue. We find out who's responsible for this. Yeah, and of course she gets arrested for having a stolen car even though the car is actually hers. Very scary. Apparently, her friend of hers basically went through the whole miniseries. She was responsible for the whole Thunderbolt thing, and the whole thing related to the miniseries. Yeah, fights the bad guys off, and of course fights the red-haired girl woman. Which, of course, apparently, like, she ends up getting shot in the back by her friend. And of course, saves them, of course, they snap, and that's miniseries. It's a very interesting miniseries, Joini Thunder. I do enjoy it. And based upon the ending, I don't know where you can go with this thing. So I guess Roy Thomas must have really loved the character so much, he just put her in Infinity Incorporated, which is a pretty smart idea. This is technically a character he did create. She's not like, you know... Excuse me. I like the case of Adventure, who was an established character. Joini Thunder is an original character. The whole Thunderbolt thing is probably just a female take on Joini Thunder, the member of the JSA who had a Thunderbolt. And this female one is similar to Thunderbolt, but not exactly. And she exists in the 80s. If she operated in the 40s, she would probably be getting a lot of sexist remarks being a PI in the 40s. Because it's a man's job type of thing. But really good miniseries. I give both miniseries a 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do the dislike button. Next up is As a Reincarnated Aristocrat. Okay, next video. Bye.